Hello students, in previous video we have started the article uniform convergence and continuity, and also we have discussed one theorem concerning it. So in this video we will continue with the same article and we will see the second theorem of this article. So in this theorem, a sequence Fn, this is a sequence of continuous function on a compact set K is given, and this sequence converges to a continuous function f on K. That is, let Fn be a sequence of continuous function on a compact set K which converges to a continuous function f on K. Now if Fn of x is greater than Fn plus 1 of x for all x belongs to the set K for n equals to 1, 2 up to so on, then the sequence Fn converges to f uniformly on the set K. We have to prove that the sequence Fn converges uniformly on the set K. So let's start with the given. Let Fn be a sequence of continuous function on a compact set K which converges to a continuous function f on the set K. So therefore we can write it as limit n tends to infinity Fn of x is equals to f of x for some x belongs to K. Say it as 1. Now we define one function, say capital Fn of x equals to Fn of x minus f of x. Now by given we know that this Fn of x and f of x both are continuous function. So since Fn of x and f of x are continuous, this implies that this capital Fn of x is also continuous on the set K. So capital Fn of x is continuous on set K. So let it be second. Now we can write it as limit n tends to infinity Fn of x equals to limit n tends to infinity Fn of x minus f of x, which will be equals to 0, since limit n tends to infinity Fn of x is equals to f of x from 1. So from this we can say that the sequence capital Fn is a pointwise conversion. Now also it is given that Fn of x is greater than Fn plus 1 of x. So since Fn of x is greater than or equal to Fn plus 1 of x, so this implies that Fn of x minus Fn plus 1 of x is greater than or equals to 0. Say it as 3. Now capital Fn of x minus capital Fn plus 1 of x is equals to, now Fn of x is equals to Fn of x minus f of x, and capital Fn plus 1 x, which will be equals to Fn plus 1 of x minus f of x. So from this we have Fn of x minus f of x minus Fn plus 1 of x plus f of x. This minus f of x plus f of x get cancelled, and so we have Fn of x minus Fn plus 1 of x. and since this is greater than or equals to 0, this implies that capital Fn of x minus capital Fn plus 1 of x is greater than or equals to 0. This implies that capital Fn of x is greater than or equals to capital Fn plus 1 of x for all x belongs to the set K. Now we have to show that, Fn tends to F uniformly on the set K. That is, we have to show that capital Fn tends to or converges to 0 uniformly on the set K. Now since Fn, the sequence Fn is pointwise conversion, so since Fn converges to 0 pointwise on K, so from this, therefore we have, for given epsilon greater than 0, there exists n which depends on x such that n greater than capital N of x implies mod of Fn of x minus 0 which is less than epsilon by 2. From this implies that mod of Fn of x is less than epsilon by 2. So this implies that 0 less than Fn of x is less than epsilon by 2. Say it as 4. Now since this Fn is a continuous function, so this sequence is continuous, so since each Fn is continuous on K, therefore for given epsilon greater than 0, there exists an open set, say J of x containing x. As this Fn, each Fn is continuous, for epsilon greater than 0, there exists an open set J of x containing x such that mod of capital Fn of t minus capital Fn of x is less than epsilon by 2 for all x t belongs to this open set J of x. So therefore we have capital Fn of t minus capital Fn of x less than epsilon by 2 for x t belongs to the open set J of x. This implies that Fn of t is less than capital Fn of x plus epsilon by 2. Now since we have Fn of x less than epsilon by 2, this will be less than epsilon by 2 plus epsilon by 2. So as we have capital Fn of t less than epsilon by 2 plus epsilon by 2, which will be again less than epsilon, we give it number 5, and for t belongs to J of x and n from n of x. Now since the set K is compact, this is given, set K is compact, so by definition we can find points. We can find points, say x1, x2 up to so on xn, which belongs to K, such that the set K becomes the subset of union of the set J of x1, J of x2 to union J of xn. We find the points x1, x2, xn belongs to K such that K becomes the subset of the union of all of these open sets. Now we define capital N, which is maximum of n of x1, n of x2 to n of xn, and so therefore by 5 we have, for given epsilon greater than 0, there exists a positive integer. This positive integer is n, such that for n greater than capital N implies 0 less than capital Fn of t, which is less than epsilon for t belongs to k, and this implies that Fn converges to 0 uniformly on set k, and from this we can say that the sequence Fn converges to f uniformly on k, and hence here the theorem is proved. So now let us start with the next article of this unit, which is uniform convergence and integration. This article also comprises of two theorems. So the first theorem states that if alpha is a monotonic function on the interval a b and Fn belongs to R of alpha, that is all Fn are Riemann Stieltjes integrable for n equals to 1 to up to so on the interval AB. Also it is given that the Fn converges to f uniformly on the interval AB. Then we have to prove two things. Firstly, that this f is also Riemann Stieltjes integrable on the same interval AB, and integral of a to b f d alpha is equals to limit n tends to infinity integral a to b Fn of d alpha. So let's start with proof. As given, let alpha be monotonic increasing function on interval AB. So therefore alpha of b minus alpha of a, which will be greater than or equals to 0. This implies that either alpha of b minus alpha of a is strictly greater than 0, otherwise alpha of b minus alpha of a is equals to 0, and this implies that alpha equals to 0. Then the result is obvious. So we consider this first condition, that is alpha of b minus alpha of a is strictly greater than 0. So now for given epsilon greater than 0, we choose eta greater than 0 such that eta into alpha of b minus alpha of a is less than epsilon by 3. Say 1. Now as all Fn belongs to R of alpha, that is all Fn are Riemann Stieltjes integrable. So also here we have that Fn belongs to R of alpha on interval AB. So therefore we can find a partition for this interval AB, partition P on interval AB, such that upper sum of P Fn alpha minus lower sum of P Fn alpha is less than epsilon by 3. We give it as number second. Now since it is given that Fn converges to f uniformly on the interval AB, so from this we have, for given epsilon greater than 0, there exists a positive integer, say n, such that n greater than or equals to capital N implies that fn of x minus f of x is less than eta. So this here we can rewrite it as f of x minus fn of x which is less than eta, and this can be written as fn of x minus eta less than f of x which is less than or equals to fn of x plus eta for all x belongs to the interval AB. Say it as number 3. Now first consider f of x which is less than or equals to fn of x plus eta. So here let mi be lowest upper bound of f of x and mni is equals to lowest upper bound of fn of x. So therefore f of x which is less than or equals to fn of x plus eta implies that lowest upper bound of f of x which is mi which is less than or equals to lowest upper bound of fn of x which is mn of I plus eta. Now multiplying by del alpha I on both sides, multiplying by del alpha I on both sides and taking summation for I is equals to 1 to up to so on n. So we get summation I from 1 to n del alpha I capital Mi which is less than summation I from 1 to n del alpha I capital Mn I plus eta summation I from 1 to n and del alpha I. Since by definition of upper sum we know that summation I from 1 to n del alpha I Mi is upper sum of P f alpha. We have discussed this definition in unit 1, and this will be the upper sum of the function fn, that is upper sum of P fn alpha plus eta, and summation I from 1 to n del alpha I will be del of that is alpha of B minus alpha of A. So let this be number 4. Now next we consider that fn of x minus eta is less than equals to f of x. Now multiplying by minus 1 on both sides, we get minus fn of x plus eta which will be greater than or equals to minus f of x. This can be rewritten as minus f of x less than or equals to minus fn of x plus eta. Now let small mi be greatest lower bound of function f of x and mn of I is equals to greatest lower bound of the function fn of x. So here we will have mi minus of mi less than minus of m and I plus eta. Now taking summation from I is equals to 1 to up to n and multiplying by del alpha on both sides. So we have minus of summation I from 1 to n del alpha I small mi, which is less than minus of summation I from 1 to n del alpha I mni plus eta summation I from 1 to n del alpha I. So by definition, this is the definition of lower sum of p function f and alpha, which is less than lower sum of p function f and alpha plus eta, and this will be equals to alpha of b minus alpha of a. So let this be 5. So now we will add the equation 4 and 5. So adding 4 and 5, we get upper sum of p f alpha minus lower sum of p f alpha, which is less than equals to upper sum of p fn alpha plus eta of alpha of b minus alpha of a minus lower sum of p fn alpha plus eta of alpha of b minus alpha of a. So this can be written as upper sum of p fn alpha minus lower sum of p fn alpha plus twice of eta alpha of b minus alpha of a. So this is less than epsilon by 3 plus twice of, and eta of alpha of b minus alpha of a is also less than epsilon by 3. So epsilon by 3 plus twice of epsilon by 3, which is equals to epsilon. So therefore upper sum of pf alpha minus lower sum of pf alpha is less than epsilon, and by definition of Riemann-Stieltjes integrability, or we have seen this theorem in unit 1. From that theorem we can say that this f belongs to R of alpha. So as upper sum of pf alpha minus lower sum of pf alpha is less than epsilon, we can say that f belongs to R of alpha on the interval AB. So here the first part of the theorem is proved. Now next, since Fn converges to f uniformly on the interval AB, so therefore we have, for given epsilon greater than 0, there exists positive integer n such that for n greater than capital N implies fn of x minus f of x, which will be less than epsilon upon alpha of b minus alpha of a for x belongs to AB. Let it be number 6. Now since we have to prove that, limit n tends to infinity integral a to b fn of d alpha is equals to integral a to b f of d alpha. So to prove this, we will consider mod of integral a to b fn of d alpha minus integral a to b f of d alpha, which will be equals to mod of integral a to b fn minus f of d alpha, so which will be less than or equals to integral a to b mod of fn minus f of d alpha. Now since fn minus f is less than epsilon upon alpha of b minus alpha of a from 6. So we will write it as fn mod of fn minus f which will be less than epsilon upon alpha of b minus alpha of a, and integral a to b d alpha as it is. So integral a to b d alpha will be, this will be alpha of b minus alpha of a. So this term get cancelled and we will get mod of integral a to b fn d alpha minus integral a to b f d alpha to be less than epsilon for n greater than capital N. So this implies that limit n tends to infinity integral a to b fn of d alpha is equals to integral a to b f of d alpha, and hence both part of this theorem is proved. Now let's start with the next theorem of this article. So the theorem is the series summation fn of continuous function converges uniformly to a function f on the interval ab, and fn belongs to R of alpha, that is fn, all fn are Riemann Stieltjes integrable. Then we have to prove that the series summation integral a to b fn d alpha converges uniformly to integral of a to b f d alpha, that is integral of a to b f d alpha is equals to summation integral of a to b fn d alpha. So let's start with the proof. As given, since series fn converges uniformly to f on the interval ab, and also this sequence fn is continuous on interval ab for all n. So therefore sum of this series, that is f, is also continuous on interval ab. This sum is also continuous on interval ab. So therefore f belongs to R of alpha on ab. That is by this is by previous theorem. Now since the sequence of partial sum, since the sequence of partial sum, which is summation k from 1 to n f of k, is continuous on the interval ab, this implies that summation from k equals to 1 to n f of k is integrable on the interval ab. Now since the sequence of partial sum, this sequence of partial sum, that is summation k from 1 to n f k, converges uniformly to f, that is since the sequence of partial sum, which is summation from k equals to 1 to n f k, converges uniformly to f on interval ab. So from this we will have, so since the sequence of partial sum converges uniformly to f, therefore we will have, for given epsilon greater than 0, there exists a positive integer n such that for n greater than n, this implies that summation k from 1 to n fk minus f, which will be less than epsilon upon alpha of a minus alpha of b for all x belongs to AB. Now next we consider mod of summation k from 1 to n integral a to b f of k d alpha minus integral a to b f d alpha, which is equals to mod of summation k from 1 to n integral a to b mod of f of k minus f d alpha, which is equals to mod of integral a to b summation k from 1 to n f of k minus f d alpha, which is less than integral a to b mod of summation k from 1 to n in bracket f of k minus f mod d alpha. Now since this summation k from 1 to n f of k minus f is less than epsilon upon alpha of this is alpha of b minus alpha of a, so here this will be less than epsilon upon alpha of b minus alpha of a, and integral a to b d alpha will be as it is. Since then less than alpha of b minus alpha of a, and this integral a to b d alpha will be alpha of b minus alpha of a. So these two terms get cancelled and this whole term will be less than epsilon. Thus summation k from 1 to n integral a to b f of k d alpha minus integral a to b f d alpha is less than epsilon. This implies that limit n tends to infinity summation k from 1 to n integral a to b f of k d alpha is equals to integral a to b f of d alpha. So here as n tends to infinity, we will rewrite it as k from 1 to infinity a to b integral a to b f of k d alpha, which is equals to integral a to b f of d alpha, and hence this is the required result and hence our theorem is proved. So here this article is also completed. Now only two articles of this unit are remaining, which are uniform convergence and differentiation, and the last article is Weierstrass approximation theorem. We will complete these two articles in our next video. So thank you.